to another beautiful Friday with Bola Tito Fatoki at Sped Every Day. Welcome to another beautiful episode of Sped Every Day with your girl, Bola Tito Fatoki. Oh yeah, you can see the excitement. Yes, I'm always so excited every Friday because I get to talk and teach and also learn more about our individuals with special needs. That's just my number one passion. That is something I want to talk about all the time. And I'm so glad that you guys are here to watch me as well. Thank you again. For those of you watching for the first time, this is Sped Every Day and welcome. This is your first call and number one YouTube channel where we talk about supporting our individuals with special needs. In this YouTube channel, we also focus on the mental health of parents and caregivers, educators of our individuals with special needs. And our end goal is to ensure that these individuals reach their highest potential and are able to be as independent as possible. This is also a platform where we learn how to teach and reach these individuals in the best way they're able to learn or adapt. Also, there's nothing as an inclusive society if everybody does not work together as a team and we do not understand each other. Not just understanding each other, but being able to support and include every member of the society. And this is inclusive of our individuals with special needs. It is very important to know that they do exist and to know that even though we all cannot learn at the same pace, they are capable of learning, they are capable of adapting to situations just like you and I, but it takes a whole community to help to build that in them. Again, welcome to my YouTube channel. It is another beautiful Friday. Topic today will be focused on parents, caregivers, educators, anyone that works, lives, or is always around individuals with special needs. Today, our topic would be keeping emotions. How do you keep your emotions intact during behavior escalation? How do we keep it intact? Most times, we are always so overwhelmed as parents, as caregivers, as educators, when there's a behavior escalation of our loved one, of our students that has maybe a behavior, a meltdown, a tantrum, or a disruption. But tonight, today, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whatever time it is where you're watching me from, we are going to learn more on how to keep our emotions intact. We're going to learn more on things that we can do to help us emotionally and to get, keep our cool. Topic today will be focused on parents, caregivers, educators, anyone that works, lives, or is always around individuals with special needs. Today, our topic would be keeping emotions. How do you keep your emotions intact during behavior escalation? How do we keep it intact? Most times, we are always so overwhelmed as parents, as caregivers, as educators, when there's a behavior escalation of our loved one, of our students that has maybe a behavior, a meltdown, a tantrum, or a disruption. But tonight, today, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whatever time it is where you're watching me from, we are going to learn more on how to keep our emotions intact. We're going to learn more on things that we can do to help us emotionally and to get, keep our cool. Topic today will be focused on parents, caregivers, educators, anyone that works, lives, or is always around individuals with special needs. Today, our topic would be keeping emotions. How do you keep your emotions intact during behavior escalation? How do we keep it intact? Most times, we are always so overwhelmed as parents, as caregivers, as educators, when there's a behavior escalation of our loved one, of our students that has maybe a behavior, a meltdown, a tantrum, or a disruption. But tonight, today, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whatever time it is where you're watching me from, we are going to learn more on how to keep our emotions intact. We're going to learn more on things that we can do to help us emotionally and to get, keep our cool. Topic today will be focused on parents, caregivers, educators, anyone that works, lives, or is always around individuals with special needs. Today, our topic would be keeping emotions. How do you keep your emotions intact during behavior escalation? How do we keep it intact? Most times, we are always so overwhelmed as parents, as caregivers, as educators, when there's a behavior escalation of our loved one, of our students that has maybe a behavior, a meltdown, a tantrum, or a disruption. But tonight, today, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whatever time it is where you're watching me from, we are going to learn more on how to keep our emotions intact. We're going to learn more on things that we can do to help us emotionally and to get, keep our cool. I go straight into that topic. Our life skill for today, for this week, is endurance. For this week is endurance. I hope you all are taking note of those life skills. We've talked about being observant. We've talked about being patient. We've talked about empathy. And today I just want to talk about endurance. What is endurance? Bearing, being tolerant. Of course, endurance, in my research and in my experience of life, it is the power of tolerating a difficult, when I say difficult, something unusual, something unwanted. Difficult to me may not be difficult to you, but personally we know ourselves. So I would want to give you my definition of endurance as the power of tolerating a difficult, unwanted, unplanned, unforeseen, unpleasant situation. Yes, there are some situations that are so unpleasant, but endurance is what keeps us going. It helps us to keep our calm. When you endure, you are able to take a deep breath. You are able to de-escalate yourself. You are able to de-escalate the stress. You are able to eliminate stress because you have been wired or specifically trained yourself to endure such situation. Endurance is that life skill that helps to keep you on track. Endurance, even in the Bible, when I studied my Bible, it says that the one who endures to the end will be saved. So meaning that endurance has an important role to play in our life, to play in the way we relate with other people, in the way we see things that other people do, and the way we react to it. It helps us to hold on, and endurance helps us to be persistent and to withstand prolonged stress or hardship. What is our end goal? What do we want to achieve? Of course, everybody wants a good life. Everybody wants a good, perfect, awesome mental health. But how do we do this? By consciously knowing that this situation has come to stay. This situation is there. But for me to make use of my plans, for me to focus on the end goal and my plans, how do I do it? I have to endure that situation. When you don't endure, your first instinct will be to fight. When you don't endure, your first instinct will be for you to run. And remember, when that comes, when running or fighting becomes your first instinct, you are not capable of thinking straight or knowing how best or remembering those things that you have or process that you have planned already to be able to endure that process, to be able to work yourself out of that process. How can we learn to endure? You know, I've had situations where people tell you that, really, how do I want to endure such situation? How do I want to be able to cope? One thing I've learned in life is that if you think you are not able to endure or capable of enduring the situation, you are setting yourself up for failure. Endurance is a very important skill that you will need, even if you're trying to escape a situation. Enduring helps you to do things effortlessly. When you do things effortlessly, you are not doing it under stress. You are doing it with your mental ability strong, with stamina. Knowing that whatever pain or whatever blow this thing gives me, I am set up for success and I'm going to endure to the end to get it done. So how do you maintain this? How do you build this endurance as a skill, as a life skill, as a part of you? One, I want to say you have to build it by consciously practicing it. There is a lot going on in the world that we tend to get overwhelmed. There's a lot going on in our lives personally, as family, both extended family, and even as in your own family. But one thing is that when you consciously practice the skill of endurance, when you know, I want to live my life stress-free, then it's able for you to build that skill. Can you build it in your children? Yes, you can. How? By modeling it. Don't get too overwhelmed when situations happen. Let your children see that, oh, mommy can hold it on. Mommy has stamina. Endurance is not just a lot of people, trainers in the gym, they tell you endure the pain, and they keep doing it. Look at our footballers. Look at our sports guy. How do they do it? You think running is easy? No. Even when it hurts so bad, they look and think about the end goal. They endure the pain. They endure the process. And while they're doing that, and while you will be doing that, you're thinking. You have the ability to think deeper. All those that you've set down, your steps to distress, your step to get things done, to get things right. And of course, enduring. How can you also ensure that you're enduring? It is important for you to make sure you have your medical check regularly. Because if you don't have the ability to be able to calm yourself down, if, for example, some people have high blood pressure, and you know it may be difficult at that time, but having the skill of endurance can even help you with your health condition, because you've already conditioned yourself that no matter what the situation is, I'll endure the pain, and while I'm enduring the pain, I'm thinking and laying my steps down for a way out of it. So at that time, your focus will be on the end result, what you want to achieve, and not on the pain. So it takes a conscious effort to be able to build that. And also, when you want to endure, and you're learning the process of enduring, you need to, for example, enduring your workplace, your relationship, being a parent to a child with special needs, make sure you surround yourself with people that are positive-minded, and not just positive-minded, but people that have the same goal as you. People that see what you see. People that when you tell them what you're going through, they would understand and be empathetic towards it. If you're speaking to people of otherwise thinking of something else, people that are not on the same page with you, you may be losing your endurance, because you see yourself as, maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe this is not the right way to do it. Maybe this is not what I need to do. So endurance also takes you to be able to mingle and be amongst people of like mind. And always remember that there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on also in the lives of other people. So whatever action that they show to you, whatever their reaction is, always be conscious that it is not about you. Even when you feel it is about you, enduring would let you know and eliminate. Like I have an aunt, she will always say, pick your battles, learn to pick your battles. You know, so when you're going through that pain, you know this pain, this is just a phase for me to finish. This is a race for me to end, and I'm going to endure to the end. And definitely at the end of the day, practicing the skill of endurance helps you in life to live better and to live right and to stay healthy with your mental health in order. Now let's get into our topic for today again. I told you the topic is keeping emotions intact during behavior escalation. How do we keep our emotions intact during behavior escalation? If you are an educator, a special educator, you know what I'm talking about. If you are a parent of a child with special needs, especially our kids with ADHD, emotional disturbance, bipolar, and most of our kids that exhibit one type of behavior or the other, you know what I'm talking about. But in the midst of all those disruptions, in the midst of the cycle of meltdown, of tantrums, of uncontrollable behavior, how do we still keep our emotions intact, that it will not be detrimental to our own health, that will not make us fall sick or have some underlying or some health conditions? Because I'm telling you guys, if you are listening to me or watching me today and you have not been able to parent a child with special needs, I need to tell you guys, get up and just throw a salute to those parents out there, to the educators out there, to those professionals out there that daily interact with these kids or these individuals, because it takes truly a lot. First of all, I want to talk about behavior. What is behavior? My definition, a lot of us have known, we know that, okay, the behavior is communication. Yes, I'm going to add my own to it today. Behavior is a means of communicating. Now, according to what I've studied, this behavior could either be positive or negative. So if I say a behavior is escalating, it could be positive behavior escalating, it could be negative behavior escalating. In fact, some people would say, oh, that's okay. Because to them, they say like, oh, this is not bad. But to you as a caregiver, you know, this continuing will lead to something else. So behavior could be either positive or negative. And while there may be a meltdown, there may also be an overreaction. So for example, I start to laugh. Yeah, people around you see it as, oh, it's just laughing. Maybe something is exciting. But I'm telling you, by the time that becomes a problem to everybody around or a distraction to those around that child, that's behavior escalation. It can occur. Behavior can occur in any form. What you see as escalation in behavior that impacts the safety is whatever thing you see as escalation of behavior. It means that this thing must impact the safety of this child or others around them, the learning of this child or others around them, or you as a caregiver, or just an escalation of a major event, or something that is contradictory to what you're teaching the child. So behavior is communication. But when it says escalating behavior, it means that this communication at that time is inappropriate. This communication at that time was unnecessary. This communication at that time is overreaction. And for our individuals with special needs, some of them do have meltdown. It could be crying, excessive crying at that time. It could be throwing stuffs. It could be screaming. It could be yelling. It could be continuous talking. It could be a disruption. Just throwing tantrums, don't want to learn, don't want to understand. I just want to talk. I don't want to stop. I just want to laugh. So all these things to a caregiver or an adult around that child that is trying to help this child may be overwhelming. And that is why today I've come with, in the midst of all this, that may seem as chaos to you, that may seem as distraction, that may seem overwhelming to you, how do you remain intact? How do you keep your emotions intact? First of all, when there's an escalation, guys, when you see that this is inappropriate right now, when you see that this is not where or what this child should be doing right now, when you see that this is going to be off soon, the first thing that you want in your mind, the first thing you want to think about is, what is my end goal? What is my end goal? What do I want to achieve with this child? And then, while you're thinking of your end goal, what plans do I already have for this child? Remember, when you don't have plans, it distracts you. It gets you agitated. It gets you frustrated. So for an individual taking care or caring or caregiver, carer of a child with special needs, a teacher of a child with special needs, a professional, you must ensure that you always have a behavior intervention plan. And getting this behavior intervention plan, we've talked about it today before, is through observation and a lot of course, data collection. We're not going deep into that today. So you need to make sure that you have your behavior plan. When you have that, I'm telling you, you feel so good with yourself, because at least, even if it won't work at that time, you know where to start. You know the process to take in order to help this child. You're not just working with a blank note. You're not just working without an idea of what is going to be expected and how you are going to help that child. Now, of course, after thinking of your end goal, which is what? De-escalating that behavior. The next thing you want to ensure is that, first, are there people around? Because something that can keep you overwhelmed is the safety of others, your safety, and that child's safety. So you want to be thinking, that's why I always say, as a person, an adult, someone caring for a child with special needs, you want to always ensure that your guards are not down. You want to ensure that you're proactive and you're ready. Because there are times the situation is just as calm as it is, and just all of a sudden it's a turnaround. So you want to ensure that you are ready at that point to take charge. Take charge. How do you take charge? You have your plans already. Always ensure that on your plan, your number one is you're thinking of safety, so you want to get everyone that this behavior can affect aside. So for those of our kids that throw stuffs, that scatter things, that fling things, that run, you want to be able to know that first, let me get this done. Remember, one thing I always tell educators, one thing I always tell parents of these kids with that have behavioral meltdown or tantrum is not, at that time, this is not the time for correction. Because I'm telling you, if you want to try to start correcting at that time, your emotions will go, hey, at that time. Because you will be frustrated because that child is not hearing correction. So when there's an escalation, that is not the time for correction. That is the time to think of ways to de-escalate. Correction comes later. Talking about it comes later. Now, I've talked about your emotions. How do they come to play? You think about first my response. How do I respond? There are times that this is not even the traditional way or the traditional means of this child communicating through behavior. It may be this child can just come in another form. So you want to be able to be proactive and know, what's my response to this? Should I get people out first? Should I try to secure the child first? What should I do? Now, to keep your emotions intact, I already told you, ensure that this child, if this child has a behavior intervention plan, don't wait. Don't be that parent or that student or that teacher that would say, oh, let me get my book. What's the first process? Know your students. So as it's happening, you are already imagining this child's behavior intervention plan. As you are observing and you're imagining and you're trying to work with this child at the same time, which can be emotional and very overwhelming for you, make sure you're also looking at the data, your report. Because remember, you want to report this even as a parent to the psychologist, to the social worker, to this counselor. So you want to make sure that your eyes all around seeing what should be seen and what should be reported. Also, while doing that, you have to understand all these things are not things that you just do in one day when that is occurring. That is why I said these are things that you would have worked already on personally. So even for yourself, have a personal behavior intervention. Because that is the time when you have to keep your calm. Remember, we talked about endurance. This is the chance for you to practice that skill of endurance. So if you don't have a personal behavior intervention for your own self, I'm telling you, you're going to trigger your own negative emotions. And this can be overwhelming and can take years to regain. Always remember that for a child with this type of behavior escalation or meltdown or is a cycle. You may see it today and not see it tomorrow, maybe the next month. So for some, it's every day. So for some, it's every hour, depending on that child or the disability of that child. Also, make sure you have a team. Let there be team collaboration as well. So that is why when a behavior occurred today, if you are a parent, make sure you discuss with your spouse or your other people living in the house with you, so that this team, when they are there with you, they can help. When they are not there and when they are there and you are not there, they can also use that you've used in the past to help this child. If there's a team in the school, you want to ensure that there's team collaboration, because there are times that you may say, okay, I'm trying to endure, but you can't just, maybe this child just threw something at you. I'm telling you, some teachers that wanted to react. That is the time for you to step back and let your team take over. So make sure that every minute, every second that you have to deal with a child with special needs, when it comes to behavior escalation, always be conscious of your own personal behavior intervention and your emotions. When you think you cannot handle it, please take a step back and let somebody come in. And that is where teamwork is always effective. Make sure you assign responsibilities. Is it at home? Let siblings know what to do. Is there someone that will clear the environment? Is there someone that will start taking things away? Is there someone that would make sure they are not too close, but around where that child is, so he won't hurt himself or herself? Is there someone that will be right there for that child? Is there someone that will stand by the door to ensure that this child doesn't run into the street or run off? So make sure you have each person assign their responsibilities, so that when it happens, all those things that make you have stress or build the stress in you is when you are not prepared. And that is the rush. And that is the time when you get overwhelmed. So you want to be assured that whoever works with you is, or they know what they're supposed to be doing. Ensure that you are knowledgeable of this child's disability. Most times when we have a knowledge of what this child's disability is and when behavior escalates, we'll be able to keep ourselves calm, because we understand it is not about you. It is not about me. It is not the child being disrespectful to me, but that is just something or a part of that child's life that is uncontrollable at that moment. Always know that it's not all about you. Always know that this is a phase that will soon pass in the child's life. So you want to know that this is not personal. This is not the child fighting me. This is a phase, and it will soon be over. With endurance, I'm telling you, you would get to the end of it. But the way you handle it is very, very important. So always stay focused to the end goal to be able to de-escalate. What are the things you need to note? Number one, I'm taking a deep breath. Number one is that never, never, never use aggression to curb aggression. That gets you agitated. Whatever child, just think about yourself when you are angry and somebody comes and starts saying things that you wouldn't want to hear. What happens? It escalates. You get more angry, you get more stressed out, you get more tensed out, you overreact. Then aggression to a child having a behavior meltdown at that time or a tantrum, I'm telling you, will create more and trigger more of that behavior. So when this child goes high, make sure you want to go low. And then know how to gradually meet that child at the point that he needs you to be able to help de-escalate. And if there are strategies already in place, some use breathing patterns, some use songs, depending. We'll talk about that in another video, ways to de-escalate situations like that. So when you have that, you need to make sure that you're doing it accordingly and make sure this is consistent. Also, when you're trying to escalate, in order for your emotions to be intact, you need to be able to avoid sudden movement. Do not just move towards the child. Remember, if a child, different things happen when a child has behavior problems or has a meltdown. Your sudden movement can trigger a whole lot of things. And I'm telling you, when that triggers it, you may feel like, wow, I wasn't trying to do that to you. I was just trying to help. And at that time, even if you are not overreacting to the child, just imagine I just yelled now. It just raised my heartbeat. And for someone that already has high blood pressure, a blood pressure problem, that's going to kick in uncontrollably. So you want to avoid sudden movement. You want to avoid facial expressions that may seem like frustration. Because even though this child is going on in that tantrum, is watching your expression. Like he has come again or she has come again. She's doing it again. You want to avoid all those. That's why I say it takes passion to be able to work with this kid. And it takes passion to be able, and endurance to be able to be a parent to them. So you need to make sure that you do not look frustrated, because you looking frustrated can trigger the behavior, and this can negatively affect your mental health. Now, always know your child. Like I said earlier, focus on de-escalating the situation instead of correction at that moment. Remember, correction can always come. At the end of the behavior, when the whole thing has been de-escalated, will be the time for you to talk about it, to go back to the status quo, to go back to what and how your plan has been, to check in with the child, to write your report. So all those will come. So make sure that you don't want to do that right in the middle of the behavior problem. But your focus at that time is to get that child to safety, to get yourself to safety, to get everybody around to safety, and then to be able to sit back at the end of the day and still be able to eat your food and still be able to laugh with friends. And then, while learning to keep your emotions intact during behavior escalation, I want to tell you this: whatever thing you sow is what you reap. So remember that when I mean sowing is what you reap, it means that what you've done at the end of today's behavior problems, how you have been able to manage it, will be the way that you'll be able to better manage it and do better next time. So if you're someone that takes things to heart, when you leave the school environment, when you leave at that child, when the whole situation has calmed down, I always encourage, if you have someone in your life, family, friends, that you talk to, you want to share with them, you want them to know, oh, this happened to me today, I felt this. Take it off your mind. Take it off your heart. Let it go. It's not personal. Guys, it is not personal. It was just a phase in that child's life. As a teacher, a special education teacher, and an advocate, I want to tell you, it can be overwhelming. It can, or it is overwhelming. But what you do at the end of every behavior intervention, at the end of every behavior de-escalation, is what will keep you intact and your emotions intact in the next one. I'm telling you, at the end of it, I just laugh like, oh, it has happened. We made it today again. How do we go about it tomorrow? So just be open-minded. Look at other people's experiences and learn. And always observe these students. Observe your students. Know what triggers behavior, because you even want to try to prevent it before it gets escalated anyway. So, but if it does, I'm telling you, the best way to handle it is you as the adult to keep your emotions intact and to make sure that you're doing the right thing, and also not letting your guard down, but still setting that high standard for your students without being overwhelmed. Remember, setting a high standard for your student takes you to set a high standard for yourself. As a parent, setting a high standard for your child's behavior takes you also to be able to keep your calm emotionally, so that you can be able to model this high standard across board. Thank you again for watching me today. It's your girl again, Bola Tutu. I told you earlier and I said, I'm always here to support you. You need more information about this that I just talked about today? Make sure you email me, spadeveryday@gmail.com. I'm just going to give you a quick recap. And one thing I want you to know and remember is behavior intervention comes with you having a plan in mind. Comes with you having a clear conscience and a clear mind. That it's nothing personal. And also enduring from the start to the end of it helps you to overcome whatever escalation and to come out of it successful. Not to raise your not to raise your blood pressure, not to get you sick, but to know that you're committed to helping our individuals with special need. And not just committed, but while you're being committed to them, you're also helping them to grow, to learn, and to know and work with those skills that you personally have worked with and has helped you. Thanks again for watching this video. Remember to subscribe if you have not. And please ensure that you click on the notification bell so that you'll be the first person to watch this the new video that I'll be releasing. At Sped Every Day, we release every Friday, and it's always an awesome and learnable moment. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe and share this video, and I'll see you next week. Bye.